this year and really provide a lot of education and let everyone know a little bit more about what we do, educate you on divorce in Florida, and then be able to answer some questions. I like to start with a little bit about myself and my story. When I was a little girl, my dad left us, and I watched my mom struggle through a divorce with limited financial resources and without her full education, because my dad didn't do the right thing. And because of that, I went to law school so that I could do the right thing. And I became a prosecutor, and I carried a badge, I put people in jail. And while there was a lot of fulfillment in that, it was still lacking. And then I found family law. And it was through family law that I was able to help women who have been in similar situations as my mother. And I'm able to help women in a way that I could really never help her as a young girl. And now at the Quick Law Group, we work to help women move from dependence to independence. And we began our focus on family law just for women as that evolved, and I recognize that that's who I want to help, and I am blessed and really humbled by the staff that we have at our office and our dedication to women. And we believe women are of course different and have different issues when going through divorce, and so that is how we are able to focus and really help women through these issues. Again, I appreciate everyone being here, and we have lots of different types of individuals here, for various reasons, for the information, to know more about what we do. And I respect all of you and your confidentiality, and I ask that you all do the same for everyone here, because it's a very special opportunity for us to all come together in what I believe is a neutral location. So you can come find out this information if you want, and it's really hopefully a non-threatening environment. I want to talk a little bit about Florida law as it relates to divorce. One of the top issues that many women are concerned about, and also their husbands, is the issue of alimony. As of the current state of the law in Florida, there is alimony, and there are several different types of alimony. And it ranges from long-term marriages to short-term marriages. There's a lot of equations that go in, or not equations, I don't think that's the right word, evaluations that go into alimony. One of the areas we focus on is alimony, because it's so important, and if you don't have good representation, it's one of those key areas where you really can lose out, because it has to do now with several evaluations, but the husband's ability to pay your need requires a good analysis of the financials and expenses and how that life is going to be for you. And that is something we are very good at. We look at those numbers, and we also look at our clients, and it's important for me to not be your friend, not friends with my clients, but because I'm your advocate. And sometimes I have to tell you things you may not want to hear and ask you hard questions. But one of the big things that I found through my practice is women in general sometimes are done. You're done. Like, I'm done, I'm walking away. I'm done with this. I will do anything to be done with this divorce, to be done with this relationship. And I respect that, and I understand that. But my role is also to say, well, I am looking at 3 years from now, when you're not frustrated and exhausted and beat down, and is this going to be adequate for you? As women and as my clients, I of course respect you and provide you with all the information. And as long as you have the information and education, and we educate you on our risks and making a decision, that's great. We're all about making the divorce, getting you the best result possible. It doesn't have to be World War III. I do a lot of those World War IIIs, and I battle it out to the end. And it's necessary sometimes, and it's worth it, and it's just what has to be done. And so I go to trial a lot. And so I can tell, so we can evaluate that and do what's best for our clients. But one of those things that we really do focus on, and I pride my staff, I'm proud of them. We are there to kind of hold you up and say, listen, you're going to be able to do this. This is going to be over. We're going to get you through this process.
And let's look at the outcome at the end of the day and focus on that versus how hard it is right now to be, in this adversarial relationship. Because what I've also found is many of our clients, all of our clients now are women, and we tend to look at things differently. And it doesn't matter how sophisticated a businesswoman you are, or if you've been a homemaker, you still combine, you've been married, and that's an emotional process going through divorce. I will tell all of you now that men don't look at it that way. It's a business transaction. And I don't care if you've been married 20, 30, how many years and how in love you are and how many children you've had. They are able to sever that and treat it as a business transaction, and that can be hurtful. And so our job is to help, we know that, and help, one, prepare you for that, but handle that side of it because it is difficult. And it's really more than, many lawyers can get you through the divorce process. Not all of them can get you through it well and get you a great result. But there's more than that. There is that part in helping you know what to expect and preparing you. Because as we know, you don't know what you don't know when it comes to the divorce, and because it's not what you do every day. And that's our job, to help prepare you for that. And when we look at alimony, that's a big part of it. Well, let's plan your life. Where are you going to be? What do you want to do? It's difficult now, but there is hope. There's a future, and we need to plan that future so that we can ask for the alimony and present a case. It's not just asking, it's presenting a case, presenting evidence to support that. And so that's a big part of what we do as well. And then alimony is most likely going to change. And that is a big part of my mission as well, is to help women understand that the laws are going to change in Florida. Once the legislature opens in March, there's a lot of bills. And it's an alimony reform bill. The family law section is working really hard to create something that's not going to be so drastic for women. And we don't know what that's going to be yet, and it's just something for women to understand that it is going to change, the alimony, and that rather than run and hide from it or pretend it doesn't exist, just let us educate you, let us get through the process, and again, take it head on and still address it. And I'm hopeful, based on the discussions that are ongoing now with the various groups, that it's not going to be as harsh as they proposed a couple years ago, which was to eliminate permanent alimony. I can't tell you one way or another. I just know that from my meetings with the committees at the bar, they're working towards a better solution. So that is to be determined, but that's why it's important to educate yourself, whether you're going through the process, maybe going through the process, know someone who's going through it. You need to know, be educated, because if you're going through it, whether willingly or unwillingly, it's important to have all the information there in front of you. One of the big things that we deal with a lot with our clients are time sharing. It used to be called custody. Now it's a friendlier word, it's time sharing, that's for minor children. And how is that going to be apportioned? What's a judge going to do as far as how much am I going to have my children, how much are they going to have to go with their father? And those are really big issues, and it can be almost sometimes our bigger trials when there's some serious issues related to children. And the way that the law is now is it's all focused on the best interests of the children. And the way it is hey, if a father wants to actively participate in a child's life, then the court will encourage that and want to do that. But what I have many women coming into my office, my husband told me that it's 50-50, and the law is 50-50, the children are going to be split half and half. And that's just not true. That's not the law. The law is the best interest of the children. And I will tell you, it just depends on the judge. So here in Duval County, we have about 7 family law judges. So you're going to get 7 different personalities and the ways they're going to look at it. In St. Johns County, we have 2, and they're going to look at it in their way. Nassau, 2 judges, Clay, 2 judges. So they all truthfully look at it differently. Part of what we do is we have an extensive experience practicing in all these counties and know the judges. And not on a personal level, like I'm going to get any kind of favor or anything like that, but I know how they tend to rule. I know how they expect a case to be presented and what some may consider and some won't. And that, again, is important for our clients. We really want everyone to, so you know what to expect. And I can tell you, well, you know, these are your risks or not, because when we are pursuing a divorce case, it's important to know what we're looking at, you know, ahead of things, and based on that judge. It may, you know, it's not all cookie cutter black and white. It's very variable depending on who's hearing the case. And I would say that's not bad, because if we only had one judge and it one way all the time, that wouldn't be good either, because we're creative and every fact is different. You know, the lawyer's favorite answer is it depends. But it does, and you know, I always look at all the creative ways within the law to pursue that case and make the best argument for our clients. Part of what is a huge part of the practice and a huge part of divorces, and sometimes the ones that are more extensive, is how are we going to divide our assets and our debts? And that is, the law starts at 50-50. But it depends. Are all these assets marital? Are some not? Does my husband have a corporation? Does he have a business that I've been there alongside the entire time, but my name's not on anything? How's that going to affect me? And so we, you know, have to evaluate that and figure out, well, when we look at all these assets, how are we going to divide them? Because it's not, it may seem equal, you get some property, but then there's also, what kind of money is there? Is there, you know, are there liquid assets? What's the retirement? So many women, you know, so many men think, well, that's my retirement. It's like, well, it always put into that and saved during the marriage. So it's just half yours and half your wife's. And same with pensions. There aren't as many pensions out there now, but the ones that still do exist are quite lucrative. And it's really important that we value that and we make sure that as during a divorce, that one, we really know the value, that and that you're entitled to get that, because all of the years that you put in as the spouse, you're certainly entitled to your marital share of that, which begins at 50-50 if that's throughout the marriage. Same with military divorces. You know, that military retirement is very valuable, and many spouses have been married a large part of that marriage, and so there's a portion of that. So when we look at equitable distribution, we look at all those things, and that's what one thing I love about the law. You know, there's like 20 factors, so there's 20 things that we can check off and argue for reasons that, you know, maybe you deserve more, which is usually what I argue. And it's the same with alimony. We have, you know, 26 factors, and that's part of our job, is to argue and present a case that supports all of those things that women are entitled to. When I mentioned just briefly about the different counties, one of the big things is just the different judges, and there's certainly different procedures. They really all do operate a little differently, quirky, which I know is hard to believe because you figure it would be the same. But it is going to be different in St. Johns County and Clay and Duval and Nassau and Putnam and Daytona. You know, everything is a little bit different, and it's important to understand timing. You know, how long does it take? It's going to, one, depend on, you know, what county you're in, but most divorces do take 9 to 12 months if things are going on schedule. And that's when maybe we have a lot of assets, a lot of issues to go over. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an ugly divorce or things are being difficult. It's just there's a lot of time frames. And yes, the courts have a lot of cases on their docket. That is true. But when we have substantial assets, you know, we need to get the information. As I said before, you know, you can agree to anything as long as you know what's there. That's the key. Do you know what exists? Then let's look at it, and then you're making an educated decision based on, yes, I know I have a right to this, but this is not what I want, or, you know, I want to trade it for something else, and this is a settlement that I'm interested in. So those kinds of things, and sometimes it just takes a period of time to gather all that information. But most of our divorces, I'm finishing a trial tomorrow, and that case has been going on about almost a year and a half. And, you know, there are some issues that make it a little bit more complicated. That is why it did. but we do find an average of about 12 months. And sometimes there are reasons to, hopefully accelerate it, and sometimes not. I have so many clients come and say, well, my husband doesn't want me to get an attorney. And I say, well, of course they don't. Of course they don't. I know they don't want you to get an attorney. But you need to be advised. And mediation's required in all divorces. So mediation does happen. But when you go alone without someone advocating for you, that mediator has a lot of ethical boundaries. They can't advise you, oh, this is a great deal, take it. They can't tell you, well, this is the law, so you're really kind of waiving something, because they're not on your side. They're great. I'm friends with all kinds of mediators, but if you have assets or debt, because that can be a mess, even if you just have a bunch of debt and then you get saddled with it, and it's difficult to overturn things. Or with children, oh, just do 50-50, and then all of a sudden, you have the children all the time and they never see them and you're not getting any money. But you have a judgment that you agreed to. It's so difficult to overturn that if you have, agreed to things. And even if yes, it's not quite like criminal law where you have to waive your right to counsel and you have a right. You don't. If you want to enter into something